Okay, that was the more of a traditional prepayment example. The Race to Zero Debt program works very, very differently. So, for illustrative purposes, let's say that we have a $200,000 mortgage and a $40,000 line of credit. Don't let the $40,000 amount concern you. With our software, that dollar amount doesn't really matter. Whether that line of credit is $10,000 or $200,000, the program still works the same and will pay both the first mortgage and the line of credit off to zero in the same amount of time. Okay? Okay, so building block number one is what we call a funds transfer. Now, in this example, the program is going to prompt us to borrow $5,000 from our ALOC and pay it to our first mortgage. But does that make any sense? Let's say that our line of credit charges 10% and our primary mortgage has an interest rate of 5%. You're probably asking yourself, why on earth would I borrow money at 10% to pay down a debt at 5%? And I know it makes no sense until you understand the paradigm shift, okay? And so to help you understand, I want to go a little bit deeper. I want to view the Race to Zero Debt program with regard to using this concept of interest cancellation and how this can work for the consumer. In order to do this, we want to set up a monthly budget for John or Rebecca Jones. Now we'll say that John or Rebecca Jones have $5,000 of monthly net income. The reason we stress monthly net is because you can't spend your gross. See, we want to know what the client is doing today with little or no alteration to their current situation. What are they doing today? What can the Race to Zero Debt program do for them tomorrow? All right, now we'll define that John or Rebecca Jones have $4,000 in living expenses, and that would equate to everything they spend their money on. That would be considered expenses, debts, etc. Okay? This leaves John or Rebecca Jones with $1,000 of discretionary income, which is what we define as what is left over at the end of the month. Okay, after everything's been paid. Now, I know a lot of you don't have $1,000 extra per month, but what we're doing is we're keeping the math simple so that you can see how the program works, okay? So let's take a look at how all this plays out with the concept of interest cancellation. Let's look at the first month on the Race to Zero Debt program. Okay, so let's take the worst case scenario. We get on the program which costs $2,500. Now this is a one-time fee for the software. There are no monthly fees, no annual fees, and there's no additional charges for new versions of the software as they become available. You can also transfer the ownership of this if you want. Now where do most people get the $2,500? Typically they borrow it from their ALOC, but we also have clients that borrow it from their 401k, they use a credit card, or simply take it from their savings account. In any case, you'll see that we need a balance on the line of credit anyway in order for us to be able to deposit our income into the line of credit. And in this case, we'll assume the program will be paid out of the ALOC and that it already has a $1,000 balance on it. Okay? We also want to get our $4,000 in monthly expenses out of the way, so we immediately write checks for $4,000 from our ALOC to our bills. Now we're upside down $7,500. I'll bet you didn't count on that right away, did you? All right, don't forget we have our income coming in. Traditionally, where would we have that deposited? Into our traditional checking account, right? Well, where are we going to deposit that now? Into our ALOC. That drops the balance down to $2,500. Now, if we had a 10% interest rate, 10% of $2,500 is $250. Divide that by 12 months, and that equals $20.83 in finance charges. All right? Month 2, we have a balance owing of $2,500, and we pay our bills. And now our outstanding balance is $6,500. Our paycheck comes in for $5,000, and that drops our balance down to $1,500. All right? Our finance charge for month 2 is $12.50. All right, let's move on to month 3. We have a balance owing of $1,500. Our monthly expenses come in at $4,000, making our new balance $5,500. We deposit our paycheck, $5,000, into our ALOC, and now our new balance comes in at $500. The software now optimizes our situation, and since we deposited a check of $5,000, the bank would be using $4,500 of our money. We don't want that. So, in this example, the software prompts us to do a funds transfer in the amount of $3,675.77. As you can see, it optimizes it down to the penny. Too much or too little, and you're not maximizing the benefits of interest cancellation. All right? So now we have a balance of $41.7577. Our monthly interest charge is $34.80. Now our total interest charge for the 3 months has been $68.13. By doing the funds transfer, we've just canceled out $17,249 in interest off of our mortgage. We also just reduced our mortgage by 18 months. 3 months ago, we had 360 months remaining. Now we only have 339 months remaining. Our principal payment just jumped from $201 to $220.48. Remember, our principal payment was only increasing by $1 each month. Now, every payment we make from now on will have $19.38 more cents going towards principal. And our new mortgage balance is $195,723. All right, month 4, we do it all over again. Notice that our balance is reducing each month by the amount of our discretionary income. And in this case, it's $1,000 a month. All right, so this month we have a finance charge of $26.46. Month 5, we do it all again, and we have a monthly service charge or finance charge of $18.13. Let's go to month 6, and we do it all again. Our new balance is $1,175.77. The software is tracking what is coming in and what is going out. If we deposit another paycheck, the bank will be using our money instead of using their money. We don't want that, so the software prompts us to do another funds transfer. And this time it's going to be in the amount of $2,920.23. All right? We now have a new balance of $4,096. Our finance charge for the month is $34. And we've just canceled out an additional $12,274 in mortgage interest. We've reduced our mortgage by another 16 months. Our total finance charge for the first 6 months is $146.85. Total interest canceled is $29,523 in just 6 months. Our total months reduced for our mortgage has been 37. In 6 months, we've reduced our mortgage, our 30-year mortgage, down to 323 months, and we've taken over 3 years off of our mortgage. The principal portion of our payment went from $222.69 to $238.41. We now have $15.72 more of every payment being applied to principal. And in 6 months, we've reduced our mortgage by 37 months. Our new mortgage balance is down to $192,138. Okay, so now let's jump ahead to month 12. Now this is where it gets exciting. We do it again, and our balance comes down to $1,003.68. The software optimizes our money. It knows if we deposit another paycheck, the bank will be using almost $4,000 of our money. We do another funds transfer, and in this case, it's $2,917.67. Again, down to the penny. The software is very, very precise. Our new balance is $3,921.35 with a finance charge of $32.68. Okay? We just canceled out another $10,184, reduced our mortgage by another 14 months. So at the end of 12 months, our total finance charge on our open-ended line of credit is just $297.89. But in exchange for that $297, we have canceled out a total of $50,862 in closed-end mortgage interest. We've reduced our mortgage payments by 53 months. That's 4.5 years. And we only have 295 payments remaining instead of what would be 348 at this point. Our principal jump has increased our principal portion of our payment by $75.92. How much was our principal portion going up per month? $1. So at the end of 12 months, we've paid our mortgage balance down to $184,811. We will have saved $161,255 in closed-end mortgage interest by utilizing the Race to Zero Debt program.